Hey everyone, back with another episode of D'ART Shtajio vlog, episode 7 I'm guessing. I'm Henry Thurlow, this is
Arthell Isom.
Alright, so this time I thought we'd talk about some nerdy stuff again. Like in the very first video we made, we rambled off about just different anime we like and what got us into anime. You mentioned essentially just Ghost in the Shell and like massive focus on that one, and then I listed off a million things, right? Yeah. And then in the very latest video that we made, I mentioned the beginning of like Spawn.
Spawn, how I got you into
So I thought just talk a little bit more in detail about like some of the first few anime that we saw and what we really liked about it. Because even though you say Ghost in the Shell was the big one, you then must have seen some other anime, right?
Yeah,
and like what was interesting about them? Was it still the backgrounds? And then, but just go into a little bit more detail about a couple of the specific ones.
Ghost in the Shell.
Only Ghost in the Shell. It's the only anime you've ever seen.
I've ever seen.
To this day, what are these posters around the room? Are these? Is this Japanese animation? So, and then even manga and stuff like that, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
But so, just, you know, for the otaku fans out there that want to connect with us, oh, I'm a fan of what they're a fan of, like, let's just a little bit more detail about some stuff that we really, really liked and why. So, for me, I mentioned last time Spawn got me into it, and then I ran off to the video store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at episode 1 of this vlog series, you can hear me ramble off on about a million things. But not just that huge list. Were there a few that I re-rented or bought the VHS of and really, really liked, and why? So the couple that come to mind at the very beginning of me getting into anime was Yoma, which I mentioned in the first one. I'll go into more detail about that, though. And then probably Vampire Hunter D, the original movie, and Lodoss War. If I really had to, I mean, Dragon Ball Z...
I actually like the record of Lodoss War as well.
Dragon Ball Z and Rurouni Kenshin I started getting into when I started becoming like a real big nerd and was like, now I'm into anime TV series with tons and tons of episodes. But like before that, right after watching Spawn, when I was like, okay, now anime is cool. Now I see that the closest thing to Spawn is this Japanese anime. Those titles, Yoma, Lodoss War, and Vampire Hunter D, the original movie, were probably...
at that time, I mean, it was kind of difficult to watch whole TV series, right?
Yeah, no, they didn't exist. Even Dragon Ball Z, it was just like the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
That not pre-Funimation existing.
I think I probably only watched a lot of the movies. Although I did watch a few of the shorter series. Record of Lodoss War, Escaflowne.
Escaflowne was another one, yeah. But for me, Escaflowne, even now coming to think of it, I think that was even a little bit later. I was probably in high school then. Our ages are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But not too much, but a few years.
I was in college when I watched
the difference between
high school, but the rest, Escaflowne, Record of Lodoss. Actually, because when I got to college, when I was in, because I wasn't a huge anime person, right? So I didn't really start watching anime until I got to college. Like I watched Ghost in the Shell in high school.
So in high school you see Ghost in the Shell.
I only saw Ghost in the Shell.
Was that your first time? Like, what is this weird style, or was there stuff before that?
And I watched that Anime Unleashed, right? And so that was kind of what introduced me to anime. And I think there was like the Lensmen, but it was only because I watched Anime Unleashed. It wasn't series, right? They were all like OVAs or like movies, short form movies. There was the Lensmen. What else was on that I watched? I remember, 8 Men After.
I remember on Sci-Fi there was like Dominion Tank Police and
Dominion
Galaxy
Tank.
Express 39. Was that on the stuff you saw too?
That might have been, but I don't think I watched that.
But it's funny because so similarly though, I don't remember exactly when I saw all of these and what came actually chronologically first, but those when I liked Galaxy Express 39 and I liked Dominion Tank Police and I liked all of these things, but I didn't become a huge fanatic about it at that time. So similarly to you might have seen some stuff, but when you saw Ghost in the Shell, you were like, whoa, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
I'll go into my own stuff and ramble like I always do when I start. But so continuing with you though, so you see Ghost in the Shell. Now you're on your whole path to I love backgrounds and figuring out all that stuff. But then you must have been like, let me see some other anime, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I had, it was interesting because I really, I don't know, I'm kind of particular in those things, right? Like I don't really get into, I don't know, I don't get addicted to things like that, right? I mean, I guess everyone has their thing that you know, that's your thing, but because even when I was with anime, I think it was always my friends who introduced me to something, like, oh, hey, so I was in the dorms at the academy, and my friends would like rent these whole series or something like that. That's actually the only reason I even watched Escaflowne and Record of Lotus War. And then I got like a part-time job, and then I was again surrounded by, you know, nerds who were like, oh, you should watch, what else did I watch? I watched Monster. And
but Monster came later.
Yeah,
Monster was
later.
in the CG.
And that's the thing, because I actually, even when I watched like Record of Lotus War, and that's because like I wasn't like, oh shoot, I need the next anime hit, the next hit feel. I wasn't like that kind of person.
So genuine question to you then, though. Like, so Ghost in the Shell influences you artistically, right? To the point where you learn the name of the art director and you want to work for them. But didn't you want to see more of those cool backgrounds?
So,
and stuff?
I did, and so I watched. So probably most likely it was there were only films, right? Because I did watch, Ninja Scroll, and I watched a Pat Labor, and of course I watched all of like Ogura's San's things, you know. So Pat Labor, and I watched Jinro, and because then I was like trying to figure out what other backgrounds like really interesting. But besides that, like when like looking for just like, oh, I wanted the next cool story, the next cool character. I actually didn't watch things for that purpose. I really did only watch anime.
But so do you even enjoy anime? Like legitimate, do you like, is there any anime that you've watched that hasn't been like, I'm artistically influenced slightly from that? Is there one that you watch and you're like, that's really cool, I had a great time?
No, yeah. Let me see. What did I watch that I thought? But yeah, and then I think the few that I did watch that I thought, wow, this is a pretty cool story was, Escaflowne. I actually really liked Escaflowne's story. Yeah. And Record of Lotus War, I thought that was interesting. Which is, I mean, I guess it doesn't really count because those are the only things I watched. So it's like, oh, I like it. But, that's a difficult question.
It's just so interesting. It's so interesting that I mean, we already covered this in the first episode, but you really did dedicate your whole life to this profession. Over just essentially one movie. Ghost in the Shell. Like you saw Ghost in the Shell, and you
or one person right? Yeah,
that's really interesting. For me, I mean, I named. Yoma. If you haven't seen this OVA, let me just nerd out about this a little bit. It was made by, I guess, JC Staff, which is a big company even today, and they make lots of really cool stuff. But I've met a few people who work at JC Staff over the years of working in the anime industry, and every time I meet a JC Staff person, I'm like, how long have you been there? And usually they're like, 5 years. And I'm like, oh, so you wouldn't know anything about this title that was made in 1989, right? And they're like, no. But a couple times I met someone who's been there for a while, not quite 1989, but like early, and they'd be like, did we make something like that? It was a little after my day, I don't think. And I think one person I even asked, like, do you still have the model sheets or something? Like, I want a copy of it, or I want to, to hear about something. Is there anyone there that worked on this, right? Yeah. And to the best of my knowledge, no is the answer. Because even the person that was there since like the mid '90s, they were unaware of this production that was made a few 6 years earlier or something. And so it might honestly be like lost in time. I don't know where model sheets are. I don't know where the director is, or where Gangamon who worked on it are.
That's interesting, it's like a treasure hunt. So.
I think JC Staff is now 100% staffed with different people that were there at the time. So it's just, is that in our company's, database? Yeah. It's kind of sad for me because it's 2 episodes and it's based on, ironically, like I don't want to say shoujo manga, but it's definitely like a girls manga. It's Ribbon, the company Ribbon, the manga company Ribbon publishes it. And I bought the 2 manga. When I came to Japan and I was studying Japanese, mostly via manga, I bought those. I went to the book off and I bought them. And I was surprised to find, because the OVA is really dark 80s, Fist of the North Star-esque character designs, blood pouring down, monster ninjas behind them, right? And then I buy the manga and it's like shoujo character faces,
and is it Yoma?
It's called Yoma, yeah, and it's still cool. It's still cool, but it's really interesting how the character designs changed so drastically. The story also was adapted a little bit differently, but
So is the film darker than the comic, or
super well? Yeah. For all intents and purposes, I mean, there's still dark themes in the manga, and the same general final battle happens and ends the way it ends in both, but they took this kind of. Not really romance story, but it was not romance sexually, but like romance and like a male friendship kind of way, like two ninja friends, like they grew up as kids and then they become the two villains that are fighting at the end. But it's kind of like it's a nice story about their relationship and feelings and stuff like that. And in the OVA, I mean, those themes still pop up, but it's super dark and like blood spraying everywhere, and at nighttime, and all the colors are like, dark blues and stuff, but the reds are shining. So that is never what I would have assumed the colors to be if I was just reading this manga.
This is kind of an off-topic question, but how? So there's lots of anime titles out there. Did you just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to watch them all? You just go to the library and just pick one?
Me?
Because how would you know what's good to even watch?
Oh, me, I watched everything. So my answer is, well, but the section was small. And, it's funny, I'm kind of thankful that it was small and not what it is today. Because if I was coming into it today and just jumping into Crunchyroll, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you have a list of 800,000 titles. You'll never watch them. It's like walking into, it's like walking into just, video stores don't exist anymore. But it's like logging on to Netflix and being like, I'm going to watch every movie. No, you're not. It's literally impossible, right? You need to figure out what you like. But back then, all I needed to know is what I like is anime. And that was enough to narrow my section that I could watch everything. Because the section was this wall, right? So if every weekend I took even two, because I could rent 2 videos a weekend, two, in 4 months I watched every single thing, maybe half a year, right?
Some dedication, man. I was busy.
Well, but I was interested, but I really liked
drawing.
it. I really liked it, right? Like I every now and then I'd rent one, and I didn't totally love it, but I mean, now you'll get me to ramble off names again, but like the Guyver series, I think that was one I didn't mention in the first one. Like so.
I was surprised to even know that Guyver was an anime, because my introduction to Guyver
was that live action movie. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is cool.
MD Geist was another one of my first one, and I forget the guy's name. Should have looked that up before we started, but he was like a anime creator in the 80s and 90s, and his stuff, MD Geist, what is it, Genocyber, and then Cybernetics Guardian was the 3 OVAs that he made, and all of those were really, really cool. MD Geist gets a lot of hate for being like cheesy, and in hindsight it kind of is, but it's also crazy, dark, and violent, and was entertaining for me as like an elementary or middle school student.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for all those who don't know, like Henry likes really dark, like gross, like
okay.
violence.
You know what? Here's what I'll do. Let me list some not violent stuff so that I can. I mean, it is true. I like that, so I'm not denying it, right? But like, just to show that it's not only that. I love all the Masaki Yuasa stuff. So the Mind Game and Ping Pong and right, all of that stuff. I really like. There's some dramas that have popped up over the years. Comedies, back in the day, I mentioned Tenshi Muyo, and then Love Hina. I was also watching, and I mean back at Azumanga Daioh. Like, so these are like comedy stuff. I'm somewhat a fan of them, but I'm not fanatical about them. But I did really, really like some dramas like. Paradise Kiss. Paradise Kiss is amazing, and Gokinjo Monogatari, the first series before
Neighborhood Story or something.
Yeah, Neighborhood Story. I didn't. What is it? Ashita no Naja. That's actually kind of like a kids show almost, but that's really good. Like back in the day, similar to me renting everything from the video store. I would download everything once that became a thing. Yeah. So I would just download everything, right? And I'd be like, "What am I watching? I have no idea what I'm watching."
I hope none of you
Oh yes,
anything.
don't do the thing that I did every single day of my life. But back then, and even now, probably some of the things I don't know if Ashita no Naja is available literally anywhere.
There was one animation I watched, which Ashita no Naja, the title reminded me of it. It was Nyoranga. Did you ever watch that?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember the DVDs. It was one I didn't watch though. I didn't watch that.
I thought it was interesting. And I don't know if the series just like abruptly ended. I kind of felt that there should have been more to that story, but it didn't go anywhere.
But the point is, there's a bunch of good dramas out there. Kimi ga Nozomu An also. I think they're doing a remake now, which God knows why, because it was good as it was. But I like dramas too when it gets into some serious stuff, not violent stuff, but just serious drama that makes me say like, oh, this is a really good, like drama show.
Yeah. All right.
We're
there.
Let's go. And last thing I'll just mention, I studied a lot of my Japanese via manga when I came here right to Japan. Yeah. And Grappler Baki, the Grappler Baki series is how I honestly learned Japanese. Almost.
Yeah, if you want to like learn Japanese, that's actually a good way to learn Japanese because I don't know about the manga in America. Like I think it's translated. It's just all in English.
Yeah. No.
If you get the Japanese ones, because children read it. So when there's kanji, they have like hiragana, which is actually I don't know what the meaning of hiragana is, but what it is like small. It's still in Japanese, but it's an easier alphabet, right? So the Japanese language has 3 alphabets: katakana, hiragana, kanji. Katakana is for foreign words, hiragana is for Japanese words, but it's the simpler alphabet, and kanji is the crazy symbols. But the comics that are in Japan, the manga, they come out, and then the really hard kanji, they always have the hiragana, which is the easier alphabet. So you just learn like 50 letters or something like that. Well, actually,
this is a really important thing. Share this with your friends who are learning Japanese and tell them to at least watch this last little part here. Not every manga has furigana. It depends. If it's a very adult series, sometimes they don't. So Grappler Baki did, and if it didn't have furigana, which is above the difficult kanji, they write it in the simpler form, so that you can much more easily study it. And also, like elementary school students can read it. Yeah. Maybe these are some really difficult words that they can't.
It takes Japanese a long time to learn all the kanji, right?
So elementary school students and middle school students who haven't learned some of the difficult words yet can still read the whole thing. Shigurui, the one comic I had mentioned, didn't have that. So be careful when they don't, unless you're looking for the challenge though. Because when I got to a certain level, that actually did help me. Because that forced me to I kept coming up against the same exact kanji words. But that forced me to learn a few kanji words.
You start off learning, you get the easier. I mean, obviously look through it, so don't just order randomly. Check, maybe go to the bookstore,
check if it has furigana or not.
And then get those, and that way you can.
And my personal suggestion is still Grappler Baki. If anyone is interested in a manga that's not super hard to read, but can, is still obviously all in Japanese and might help you. Do you have any manga that you'd suggest, or did you study with manga or not really?
No, I actually didn't study Japanese with manga. Although I did. I mean, I supplemented my study with some manga, right? So I read Sayonara Nippon. These are really I really like Katsuhiro Otomo, so I like all of his he'll have these one-off series, except for Akira, which is really long. So I would read his manga, and then they do have the hiragana, and they're just one book. Because I wasn't the same way that I was with the anime. I didn't want to.
You weren't nerding out over them, but
so I wanted to read one book, and I wanted it to be finished. So I would get the novel type mangas where it's just one book. But so if you want to learn Japanese but you don't want to read a whole series, and once you start, you're gonna have to read the whole thing. Then I say because they do have the mangas that are just like these novels where they're just short stories and things like that. So tankobon, they call it. This is one book series. So. But that's that.
Call it a day.
So, 下地が大事.
See you guys next time.